All right, here we go. Welcome to Blockchain Crypto Gang Live. Giving you some of that crypt talk. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. Of course, as we speak about Bitcoin, it's going to bleed over to altcoins. But right now, what we're looking at is the halving chart. This is the actual countdown for what we call the Bitcoin halving. So for those who don't know, in 50 days, the production or output of Bitcoin will be cut in half, meaning as of now, 900 Bitcoin are produced per day. Okay. 900 Bitcoin are produced per day as of now. Okay. In 50 days, that number is going to be cut to 450 Bitcoin. So that means only 400. So this is a deflationary. This is what people don't understand is Bitcoin was created to be deflationary. So less and less Bitcoin enters the market every 4 years. It's cut in half. So the fact that the demand of Bitcoin is not cut in half and continues to increase is why we look at the best, most successful asset known to man. That's what Bitcoin is. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the countdown of the halving. So a lot of people know that, for the past couple of years, I've been getting 20% of my salary converted automatically to Bitcoin. And I actually upped that to 35%. I know this sounds crazy. A lot of people are like, how can you survive off of just 2/3 of your salary? You must make a lot of money. Not necessarily saying that. But I do understand that the halving's coming. I understand that, especially during a bull cycle. This is just some game. I'm telling you how I do it. I'm not giving you advice. But I understand, and this is proven to be a successful strategy last bull cycle. I understand that saving money in the bank, you're not going to be able to hedge inflation. You can't increase your wealth by saving. You may have money for emergencies, but your wealth will not increase because you're only getting 1/4 to 0.5% in most banks. That's it. This is why DeFi is so important. This is why staking and other DeFi protocols are so important. This is why the SEC goes hard on companies that offer staking rewards. Because if everyone understood how that works, then less people would be inclined to keep their money in the traditional financial system like the bank. That's just a fact. But during a bull cycle, the reason why I've been able to be successful with putting as much into assets as possible is because the market is steadily increasing. So even if I over leverage with assets, over leverage with investments in the crypto market, and I know that I have a bill due in 2 weeks, but instead of putting it in the bank, I put it into Bitcoin or other assets. I know in 2 weeks, those assets will probably increase to the point to where it just made my bills cheaper because that $1,000 or whatnot that could have been in the bank now just turned into 1,200 or whatnot. And, it's hedging against inflation. But anyway, let's get to some of this news. Let's get it. So Bitcoin remains the most in-demand blue chip cryptocurrency despite growing launches of digital assets consisting of meme coins, GameFi, DeFi, non-fungibles, and I would even say DPIN. With the fourth Bitcoin halving approaching in mid-April 2024 in field anticipation of a spot Bitcoin that sent BTC over 45,000 at the end of 2023, many investors are proactively accumulating crypto wealth. For example, MicroStrategy is making headlines for accumulating over 615 million worth of Bitcoin ahead of the SEC spot ETF approval. So like I said, a lot of these large companies, a lot of these whales, they're buying Bitcoin faster than it's actually being mined, faster than it's actually being produced and entering the market. Now, the funny thing about how many of these large whales, financial institutions, investment vehicles, et cetera, the interesting thing that people don't understand about how they're able to accumulate so much without it spiking, without it having an immediate spike to the market price, is because they typically buy it with over-the-counter services. So Coinbase or whatnot will offer over-the-counter services, or they'll buy it directly from miners, so it never actually enters the market algorithm in that fashion. And they also typically do it in microburst. So they may buy tons of Bitcoin, but they'll do it in transactions of up to 80,000 transactions. So it'll be 80,000 micro transactions that will happen. So it kind of keeps the price from immediately spiking. Of course, what it's really doing is like putting a pot or putting a top over a pot that's trying to boil. It's just building up the momentum and the energy, and eventually the top blows off. That's when we see these price spikes like we're seeing right now. And by contrast, when they sell it, they typically sell it and dump it straight on the exchange. So when they sell it, that affects the price immediately. But when they buy it in clever ways that doesn't immediately affect the price. But over time, you can't continue to buy all the Bitcoin. You can't continue to see all this volume, and it's not going to lead to a parabolic uprise in prices, especially because, as you see, we're 50 days away from Bitcoin production being cut in half. The demand is not being cut in half. The demand is soaring up. The production coming 50 days will be only half of what it is right now. This is why Bitcoin is going to continue to spike. And this is why people are calling for an easy $200,000 Bitcoin. I'm saying 150 just to be conservative, but let's get into this story. What gives Bitcoin its value? If you consider investing in Bitcoin, you may wonder what gives it its value. Bitcoin is a form of digital currency considered to be an alternative to fiat money, which is used by governments. Since central banks control the amount of paper money being printed, it naturally gives them more control over economics. In comparison, Bitcoin operates using blockchain technology that records everything on a public ledger, making this network transparent and highly decentralized. Although Bitcoin isn't widely used in the world economy, it gets its value from many different factors, and comparisons thus can be made between the values of gold and Bitcoin. These commodities have very specific use cases, are limited in quantity. Like precious metals, Bitcoin is durable. However, it's more portable than precious metals like gold, silver, or platinum. It's more precisely divisible and in some regards safer. BTC is often referred to as digital gold. Digital currencies such as Bitcoin have value because they function as both a unit of exchange and a store of value. Bitcoin also displays 6 core attributes that allow it to be used in economies. Number 1, scarcity. 21 million is the limit. There'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. By contrast, governments print money willy-nilly. That's not backed by anything, which leads to inflation and in some cases hyperinflation. So the reason why the US dollar has less spending power year after year is because they continue to print it and it's not backed by anything. So all of those stimulus packages that we have seen since 2008, that were printing trillions of dollars, putting it into the market, putting it into circulation, that by default is going to lower the value of the dollar. This is why cost of goods and services, rents, day-to-day living continues to rise. That's why when you go to the supermarket, that same gallon of milk just went up considerably, and you're noticing it because the money is just not worth as much because they continue to print it out. Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. Accessibility can be used as a form of payment. Acceptability, Divisibility, this is important as well, can be divided into smaller units. Now, a lot of people I see when they're speaking of, hoarding and saving gold and making sure that, in case of an economic situation that you have gold or silver, that's fine. Here's the problem. What do you know that you can use gold and silver to purchase? What do you need or want on a daily that you can buy with gold? You can't go to a grocery store with gold, and when the grocer rings up your total, You can't like shave off the amount of gold that is equivalent to that. It doesn't work. They don't accept gold. Bitcoin you can use. Bitcoin you can immediately transfer to fiat currency and pay that grocery bill. You can't do that with gold. It's not divisible like that. Durability, able to withstand time and remain usable. Gold has that quality as well. So does Bitcoin. Resistance to counterfeiting due to blockchain technology on which it operates. You can't counterfeit Bitcoin. You know, you can make fool's gold and maybe fool some people. You can't counterfeit Bitcoin. The closest thing to counterfeit Bitcoin that we have is like Bitcoin Satoshi Vision or Bitcoin Cash or some of the other Bitcoins that maybe a newbie wouldn't know isn't actually Bitcoin. And portability, very important. Portability, the ease of transferring and storing. That's very important. It's like I said, you know, like I'm not saying that gold isn't a good hedge on inflation or that it's not a good, you know, investment or store of value. But I am saying this. You go back a year, right? And you have $1 worth of gold. Right now, you might have, no, excuse me, go back 14 years. $1 worth of gold might be $2 now. So it may have doubled within 14 years. $1 worth of Bitcoin now would be worth about 40 million. Okay. And the portability, that's the ease of transferring and storing. Well, to store gold, you have to have a lot of security, a lot of physical, tangible security mechanisms in place. And to transfer it, you know, in a significant amount is going to be very difficult. But Bitcoin, you can put $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin in your pocket. So since Bitcoin qualifies as a currency, it can retain a certain amount of value. One of the main reasons is the scarcity of its supply. The fact the maximum number of BTC that can be mined is just under 21 million. This level of scarcity makes it possible for Bitcoin's value and market price to increase considerably over the years. And that's what some people don't understand. A lot of people are of the mind that they want to day trade Bitcoin. There's only certain instances where that's actually going to be a profitable thing. Right? Bitcoin is more of a long hold. Bitcoin is like, if you can withstand the heavy volatility of Bitcoin, then you'll be all right. Like if you understand that Bitcoin last year, this time was about 15, 16,000, and now it's 4X that. And probably within another year, it's going to 4X that. You know? Anyway, let's get to some of this other stuff here. What else we got? Who owns the most Bitcoin? Let's see here. So here's some of the top Bitcoin wallets right here. Satoshi Nakamoto is said to have 1.1 million Bitcoin. Brian Armstrong, undisclosed. The Winklevoss twins, 70,000 Bitcoins. Michael Saylor has 17,000. Tim Draper has 29,000. CZ, which I did a video on last week, but I didn't realize it was on mute most of the time. I'm going to have to redo that one. Undisclosed, Jack Dorsey undisclosed, but I'm pretty sure he has a lot. Let's get down to this, though. This is very important. So here's institutional and private companies that own Bitcoin. This is important because these numbers are going up because a lot of these numbers, like BlackRock and Grayscale, represents those who are offering Bitcoin ETFs. So like, remember, Bitcoin is now being actively traded on Wall Street. It has now been accepted as a traditional financial investment instrument. And that number is only going to continue to rise because as people see these numbers go up, they're going to want to enter the market. So unlike some of us, some people don't mind buying shares or derivatives of Bitcoin via Wall Street. Now, the issuers have to hold actual physical Bitcoin. So as the demand increases, they're going to have to continue to buy. So Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at 643,000 Bitcoin, that number is going up. BlackRock at 35,000 Bitcoin, that number is going to go up. The Tezos Foundation, Galaxy, Tether, Holding, MicroStrategy, 189,000 Bitcoin. Mt. Gox, 200,000 Bitcoin. All right. So there's that. Now let's get into this one right here. Bitcoin is back. How long will the bull run last? Like I said before, I don't really plan. I'm not even looking at my Bitcoin right now because I don't really plan on selling it anytime soon. I don't want to sell it. I will wait. But I do anticipate Bitcoin dragging up some of my altcoins, which I do plan on relinquishing one way or another. Whether that's borrowing against it, whether that's actually selling it, whether it's moving to El Salvador where they don't have any capital gains tax. If everything really works out, hey, I might be there. Anyway, but after a big week for Bitcoin, some are looking beyond the next all-time high to ask whether the good times will last. Like I said before, I really believe one of the reasons why Bitcoin is starting to soar right now is because there's been so much accumulation this last year, like especially since the ETFs. The accumulation has been so wild that we really should have seen this happen before. But like I said, the way the Bitcoin is accumulated by these big whales, they do it in a very clever way as to not spike the price immediately. But you can't continue to accumulate that much Bitcoin and not expect to see the numbers that we're seeing right now. So Bitcoin continues to soar and has flitted just 11% away from touching the all-time high of 69,000. It certainly feels like a bull run, but how long will it last? To be sure, crypto Twitter has opinions. The cycle will be shorter than previous. The chattering class opines, but experts are torn. The biggest digital coin by market cap is now trading for 61,000. We're not very far from the last all-time high, y'all. 61,000. It's only 8,000 away from the last all-time high. Just think about that. We haven't even got to the halving yet. We know that the halving is going to spark a parabolic increase of price. Just naturally, just because of supply and demand. Supply and demand dictates that once everyone realizes, and once it is an actual fact that one half of the current amount of Bitcoin enters a circulation compared to now, you know what I'm saying? Once we go from 900 Bitcoin a day being mined to 450, that means that Bitcoin has become twice as scarce as it was. But the demand is still going up. Excuse me, I know. The demand is still increasing heavily. It's still being bought. We have ETFs now. We have 11 companies that operate on Wall Street that are now trading Bitcoin derivatives called ETFs. So the number is going to increase. More exposure by retail investors like us is going to increase. So, we know that the Bitcoin price is going to continue to go up. I think most are surprised at how quickly crypto has run for the past 4 weeks. It's said by Premise Capital founder and CEO Patrick Felder. And there's just a chart showing you from February 5th to February 26th, just how much Bitcoin has been increasing, like very quick. He continued that these parabolic rallies typically see a 20 to 30% pullback. So they're saying, of course, there's going to be pullback. And that makes sense, right? Bitcoin gets up to 62,000, and a lot of people bought Bitcoin at 14,000, and they bought several hundred Bitcoins. That might be their exit price for them. People are going to take profits, no doubt. But yet and still, we're going to continue. I mean, like I said, as long as we're above, I would say 40,000 the day of halving, that's going to indicate that Bitcoin is probably going to the 200,000 range. Now, will it stay there is the question, and the answer is probably not. But it will probably land much higher than it is even right now, or close to, right? But for those of us who play the altcoin game, Bitcoin getting to 250,000 means that these altcoins really soared. If Bitcoin quadruples from where it is right now, the altcoins are going to soar. Let's look at some of these altcoins I'm talking about, y'all. I got to wrap this up. Let's look at some of these altcoins. So we see Bitcoin at 62,000 right now, a 2 $2.2 trillion market cap, $2.3 trillion market cap, and a market dominance of almost 53% for Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin at $1.2 trillion market cap, meaning it's bigger than all three of the biggest banks combined. Then we got Ethereum, 400 billion. That's almost as big as the biggest bank currently, which is JP Morgan Chase. Then you got Tether, which is stablecoin. You got BNB sitting at 60 billion. You have Solana sitting at 58 billion market cap. And I spoke about Solana, and I've been concerned about Solana because of the outages or whatnot, but I am heavily invested in a lot of their other projects. So I really do hope that Solana continues to rock and roll like they are. Sitting at 130 per, not bad. XRP, everybody's waiting for XRP. It's up 10% in the last week, but everybody's talking about that XRP getting to $5 to $8. We'll see. I hope so. We have USDC, another stablecoin. We have Cardano, something I'm also pretty heavy in. I have a couple Cardano projects as well, which is doing pretty well. As you see right here, 17% at 24 billion market cap, 69 cents per, not bad. Dogecoin, which did a lot last bull run, up 61% in the last 7 days. So hey, that's a good thing for Dogecoin holders at 13 cents, very far away. Now here's the thing about Dogecoin. I like to see the numbers up. I know a lot of people like to see that. As far as Dogecoin reaching its last all-time high, it's going to take a lot more market cap because I believe 5 billion coins enter circulation every year. I believe 5 billion coins are created every year in Dogecoin. Avalanche, doing pretty well. Chainlink, let's go to look at Polygon. I think Polygon's going to do very well, as I said before, based on the fact that they are a layer 2 to Ethereum. So it helps Ethereum scale. So if Ethereum is going to do very well, and they will, then I think the layer 2 will do well. Just as I suspect, let's go ahead and go to my wish or my watch list. So some of these coins I don't have. Most of them, some of them that are on here, some of them that aren't on here, I still do have. So for instance, let's look at Stacks. Stacks is something I told you I'm heavily into, based on the fact that it is a layer 2 Bitcoin solution for DeFi, NFTs, etc. And you can stake your stacks and earn Bitcoin, which I do. Stacks is at almost $3 per. It's up 20% in the last week. $4 billion market cap. I could see Stacks going to $100 billion market cap. As Bitcoin continues to increase, Stacks is the second layer. They have a lot of different things going on their ecosystem to accompany and complement Bitcoin. And when I first started getting Stacks was like 80 cents. Right now it's at almost $3. And it's staking. So I like Stacks. Sui, whatever that is. Like I said, I did actually I seen that SEI pump 12,000% when it listed on Coinbase, and I got a lot of that. I got in for a lot of that. I didn't know how serious they were. They claim to be the fastest coin out there. Right now they're at 2.2 market cap. They're at 86 cents. That's pretty incredible compared to where it was when I got out of it. Bonk up 110%. I like to see that. Bonk is one of the Solana tokens that I do actually hold, along with Helium. Helium 8% for the week. It's part of the DePIN technology I was telling you about. Pith, another Solana project. Doing pretty well. Engine Coin, which is very big on the gaming, up at 46 cents, 40% for the week. Jito, you're going to see a common theme here. A lot of my watch list consists of Cardano projects and or Solana projects. Of course, I have some others, but we have Jito, which is also Solana. We have Helium Mobile, which is down 13% for the week. Helium Mobile, you earn that, with the Helium service. Something I've spoke about for a long time, which is Digibyte, which I think is a very underrated project, up 36%. I'm glad I still hold it. Up 36% for the week. Very underrated. I think Digibyte should be doing way better. I think Digibyte should be way more integrated, but I think the problem is they don't have as much of an outreach mechanism. Hive Mapper, another Solana project. Here's another one that I told you guys about a long time ago, and that is SNCC, which is up to 110 million market cap, which is pretty small. Still, I mean, it could still 10x just to get to $1 billion. It's up 60% for the week. SNCC is a Cardano project. They do have an actual tangible product called the SNCC energy drink, and they do have swaps, and they do have staking and borrowing, lending, DeFi qualities as well. So I think the way I look at SNCC is like, if Shiba Inu made it to 40 billion the last bull run, why not SNCC? Why not? Even if it just makes it to 10 billion, that would be incredible. But if it made it to 40 billion, and I've been getting this since 5 million market cap, that would be a tremendous flip, and it'd make a lot of people a lot of money. So there's that. Let's, we have Taboo, another coin, JoyStream, which I also have a JoyStream account. JoyStream is a decentralized type of video platform similar to YouTube. So kind of like the Odysee, which saved my last channel because YouTube canceled my last channel, but all my videos are still on Odysee. JoyStream is kind of the same. And at an $18 million market cap, if that takes off, if that gets to 18 billion, that's 1,000x. So there's that. That's kind of how these market caps work. But like I said before, in order to get into some of these alt projects that are low market cap, they're not going to be on the centralized exchanges. This is why I always tell you, learn about Bitcoin, learn about blockchain, learn about decentralized protocols, decentralized wallets, DeFi, et cetera, decentralized exchanges. Then you can get some of these lower market cap coins if you think they're going to pop off. Like I said, a coin that's under 100 million that really has potential, those are the kind of coins that you can't get on Coinbase. But if you know how to get them, that's how people made a lot of money on Shiba Inu. They made a lot of money because they got it before it listed on Coinbase. They got it when you had to trade on a decentralized exchange or use a decentralized wallet. They got it when the market cap was very low, and they rode it to the top, and that's how they made millions off of a few hundred or a couple thousand. Is that it? Let me see. That is it. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Blockchain Crypto Game. Make sure you guys join the Facebook group, Blockchain Crypto Game. Follow on Twitter at CryptTalkP. You can hit me up at CryptTalkPodcast@gmail.com. Appreciate your time. Peace.